Okay, what's going on, guys? So I just watched a video by Colin Talks Crypto. This was a very informative video that I just watched. He talks about the governance model of EOS, the problems, and some of the solutions on what we can do to fix them. It's actually one of the most informative videos I've seen in a long time. It answered a lot of questions that I already have about EOS governance, and it also opened my eyes to problems that I did not know existed. So if you haven't seen the video, I definitely recommend to go watch that video. It is a very quality video. And but I want to talk a little bit about what he was saying. He was saying one of the big problems in EOS governance right now is that the BPs, the block producers, in the top 20, the top 21 block producers don't match what would be his ideal top 21 block producers. He kind of opened up with that, and I really didn't like that he put his bias in it. But at the end of the day, what he's saying it makes sense, you know. What he's really saying is that the block producers that have produced the most value for the EOS ecosystem, EOS token holders, in forms of updates and development tools and things like that, user agreements. He talks about EOS New York, how they gave the EOS user agreement. He talks about EOS Authority, how they help with the Rex, so on and so forth. But anyways, what he was trying to say is that there's a lot of block producers in the top 21 because the way it works out is you have 21 block producers, from my understanding, and from top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 21, you get paid on a sliding scale. So you get paid more basically for being number 1, and then a little bit less for being number 2, number 3, 4, so on and so on. So the point he was trying to make is that the way that these block producers are getting in the top 21 basically is that they're gaming the system. And so how are they gaming the system exactly? Several ways, but one of the main ways he was talking about, which actually makes a lot of sense and is actually congruent to what I was saying in a previous video about how until we have decentralized exchanges mainstream and as big as centralized exchanges, I don't think we're ever gonna get that decentralization that we really need to make this space as immutable as it should be. So yeah, he was talking about how what would happen is that these, because a lot of, this is common knowledge, a lot of the exchanges, a lot of the big cryptocurrency exchanges are in China. BitMEX and I think OKX is Chinese, and there's a lot of big Chinese exchanges. So those Chinese exchanges hold EOS. Now the EOS they hold may be your EOS, they may be my EOS, they may be somebody else's EOS that they're just pretty much holding for you so that you can trade it into other tokens, because that's how a centralized exchange works, and that's what people mean when they say a custodial exchange. They're holding your EOS tokens in order to enable a trade between a buyer and seller of another token. So if you wanted to sell into Bitcoin and you have EOS, well, the exchange facilitates that trade. But in order to do that, they have to hold your tokens. Now, it doesn't work like that in a decentralized exchange. A decentralized exchange, a non-custodial exchange, works completely different because you never have to give up access. You never have to give up your tokens. As long as you hold your private key, you will always have access to your tokens because all the transactions happen on the blockchain. People will say on chain, they mean on the blockchain. So I say all that to provide my solution, and I don't know if this is ignorant, I don't know if this could work, because the first thing that popped up into my mind when he described the problem, because there were several solutions. He started talking about I think this was EOS Authority's solution. They want to do one token, one vote squared. So basically what that is every token is worth one vote squared. So it exponentially gets, it disincentivizes you from voting on different block producers. Which I don't know, like Colin seems to think that's a really good idea, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I don't think to me it just seems like the problem is not within the I can't really be mad at the block producers for gaming a gameable system, right? So my solution is, and I want to know if this is possible, so if you guys are watching, I know I don't have a lot of subscribers, so if you're new, please subscribe, and please share this video if maybe somebody from, I'm really curious to see if somebody from the Liquid EOS team can see this video, because I think they would be perfect to implement this solution, because it has a lot to do with Bancore technology. So what I was thinking is, my first thought was, okay, so centralized exchanges, right? These are the problems. Why does EOS, number one, have to be traded on an exchange, a custodial exchange? Is there a way that we can take the EOS off the custodial exchanges or block it from being sold? Now, see, that, I think if that is possible, I think that would work, and I think it would then kind of fix the problem on its own. But we would lose in the short term that liquidity. We'd have a short-term liquidity loss, but I do think it would solve the problem. But see, my second thought was like, okay, but I don't really want to lose that liquidity that's being traded on exchanges. I don't want the price of EOS to tank, because that's another problem for block producers, because we know once the price of EOS goes down, since the block producers are paid in inflation, it kind of ruins their rewards and makes it harder for them to pay their operating costs. So I got another thought, and that is, why don't they make two tokens? Airdrop everybody who owns EOS tokens, none of the people on exchanges, or maybe you could do it to the people on exchanges. Yeah, you could do it to the people on exchanges. That wouldn't be a problem. So airdrop a separate EOS token that is strictly used for voting, for governance voting, to every single wallet address that holds EOS, and for one-to-one for all the EOS they hold. So let's just say I hold 1,000 EOS, for example. They would give me 1,000 governance tokens, and those tokens would not be traded on any exchange. So you wouldn't have access, and you wouldn't have access to any of those you wouldn't have access to any of those exchange tokens. So these exchanges couldn't swap votes with their buddies. They couldn't use their voting power to keep themselves high on the BP list. And I think that would solve, I think that solves the issue. I could be wrong, maybe I'm missing something. But yeah, I don't think they would have the same power if they weren't, you know, these tokens weren't traded on exchanges. And the only problem I can see is that when you get the fork, if the centralized exchange custodial EOS tokens don't want to give their governance tokens to the users of EOS. But as we've seen with Bitcoin before, whenever Bitcoin has forked, when it had all its multiple forks, it usually, those forks are kind of seen as they're kind of seen as the property of the Bitcoin holder. So if Bitcoin forks, it's kind of seen as your property, whatever it forks into or out of, whatever. So I think a lot of centralized exchanges would lean towards just giving the users their governance tokens in order to stay away from that legal confrontation. So I think all around that would be a decent solution to the problem. I'm curious to know if anybody out there has the knowledge. Please let me know if it is possible to make it so a token is not traded on exchange. If you think it would be better if they made EOS not traded on exchange, or maybe a separate token for governance that's not traded on exchange, that would encourage more people to vote, and that they can honestly, using Bancore technology, program to function however they want, program to be whatever the price they want, and also they can reward users some sort of way of the token. So yeah, that's it. Please like, subscribe, share, guys. I really want to hear your feedback on this. Thank you so much for watching.